wasn't in a good way, like, you know, and I'd say, and sort of going outside and smoking one after another probably wasn't helping that situation, you know.
Yeah.
I think the only thing which would put me back onto the cigarettes, it wouldn't be, I mean, I used to be, when I gave up for the 3 months, I could sit in a room with smokers, which I did on a regular basis, and it just didn't bother me at all. But what would the trigger thought would be, you know, if there was a stressful situation, something which was really upsetting me, then that would be my concern, that I wouldn't think twice.
When you talk about stress and upset, what do you mean by that?
Maybe, you know, sort of upset in the relationship I have. You know, if there happened to, I don't mean just a silly little argument. I mean, if I felt threatened, if I felt the relationship was getting threatened, then that would cause a huge amount of anxiety in there.
Yeah, that was fine. So you're kind of threatened by, if something causes a threat, it could cause anxiety, is basically what you're talking about. Okay. Well, shall we do it?
Shall we?
Okay, you all right with your shoes on? You don't want to throw your shoes off? Okay. Can you do that? Can you breathe in everything that you might want for yourself? And can you breathe out everything you might not want for yourself? Because we've heard of lots of things, and I'll let you choose what you would like. It can be anything. Can you give me an idea of what you're going to breathe in?
I'm going to breathe in happiness. I'm going to breathe in hope for the future.
Yeah.
My own abilities to conduct my affairs in a better way.
You ridiculous. So we're breathing in happiness, hope, and success, would you call it? Yeah, okay. And we're breathing out?
We're breathing out the opposite side to those things, you know, of not being the devil. How do you put the word on it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll just call it.
Yeah, just breathing out my...
your angst. Your angst.
My angst?
Yes, it's all that.
Yeah. My childness, because a lot of these things is childish behaviour, I think.
Oh, childish behaviour.
Yeah. So, if I could conduct some of my adult affairs in an adult way.
Okay.
That would be.
Yeah. That's a summary of it, is it? Okay. Okay, so we're going to breathe in happiness, hope. Forgot what we said.
Success.
Success, thank you. So good job you're taking notes. Happiness, success. Can you say that in your mind as you do it? Happiness, success, hope. In whatever order you like. Success, hope, happiness. You know, hope is a strange thing because hope assumes that we never quite get there. So if there's some way of turning hope into reality, that might be something worth breathing in. So every time you breathe in all these good things. And then you breathe out all those qualities, all those childish qualities of things that you don't want. Whatever you like to call them, that thing, that it, that indescribable thing. So every time you breathe in, you're breathing in all the goodies. And every time you breathe out, you're breathing out all the baddies. And you can go on doing that almost without my help. As if you were going to do that from this second in time, for now and for the rest of your life. As if you could start by just being nice to yourself. Just doing what you feel would be very right for you and very beneficial for you. Breathing it in and letting it go. And getting that good feeling that comes when we breathe in what we want and let go of what we don't want. And maybe you could continue this good work by taking yourself to a very beautiful garden. Could you do that, Paul? One that you could paint in your own mind, your own designer garden. And maybe it will have grass and trees and shrubs and flowers. Perhaps sunshine, perhaps butterflies and bees. Perhaps birds that you could listen to, sweetly singing. But the magic thing about this garden is that maybe for the first time in your life, you can smell the flowers. Because what you have done is you've started an unstoppable process. A process whereby breathing will become a new experience for you. And now that you've decided that smoking is quite irrelevant in your life, it's as if this choice that you've made will allow you to go through a kind of purification process, purification of your lungs, of your body, of your mind, of your spirit, of your soul. As if by being, just being in this garden, by just taking one very deep breath and smelling those flowers and the bark of the trees. For the very first time in your life, perhaps, a new experience, a sweet fragrance that also starts this natural purification process of you and your body, perhaps detoxing the lungs of all those things like slime and dirt and filth and muck and tar and grease and ugh. You've started the process of letting it all go, of cleansing your lungs, of cleansing every cell in your body. And it's an unstoppable process, and it starts when you have taken, as you have, that very first breath. And it's a great feeling to know that you've done this good thing for yourself, that you've made a difference to your life in the space of 1 second. And notice what magic this garden now beholds for you. Perhaps you can see it all more clearly in glorious technicolor. But most of all, notice what it's like to smell a delicate flower for the very first time, as if it were a completely new experience, like being reborn. And maybe you can nod your head when you find how much you're relishing and enjoying that experience. When you're experiencing it as fully as you can. And does it feel really good? Does it give you a new lease of life?
It feels nice and good.
And can you allow yourself to relax even further with this nice, feeling good experience? Maybe you can find a tuft of green grass on which to stretch out, sink into the earth, while the earth is supporting you in this process. And maybe when you feel really very, very sleepy, you can let your mind wander and drift, roam about in a very free, uncharted way. Maybe looking at some of the things that we've spoken about. Maybe looking at that happy life that you've created for yourself, with your partner, with the son that would be the envy of any dad. The contentment in your job, the satisfaction of doing this course, the progress you've made on this course. The things that are going on in your current life that give you pleasure, knowing that of course you can breathe out those things that you'd prefer to live without. Breathing out maybe some of that anxiety, some of that stress, some of that worry, some of that disaster that you create. Some of that feeling that occasionally you'd like to kick yourself because you might have failed at something. Maybe even looking at that funeral a while ago that might not have hit you. And maybe even looking at that time when you were in the taxi and, hey, it was very embarrassing. And you know, it's okay to grieve, because it just is, and it's only other people that tell us it's not a good idea. And it's okay to feel anxiety or embarrassment or to lose our temper for no apparent reason. Because it's a release. And it might be a release that people in the outside world say tut tut to, but that's just because they're not very enlightened. And you know, it's a strange thing when you think about smoking. You look at that little white stick of tobacco and stuff. And you might see it in a number of different ways. You might see it sometimes as a way of preventing us feeling these feelings that we're really not allowed to show. It's almost as if you could stuff something in your mouth and it might stop you feeling the stress or the anxiety. It might stop you losing your rag, perhaps. And sometimes when we're much younger, in our early teens, we think that perhaps we could solve all our problems by just escaping into a mist of smoke. Perhaps we could use it as a little walking stick almost to take us through life. Perhaps when things are not quite right, we can solve a problem in some strange, mysterious way. We haven't worked out how, but we think it might occasionally work. So we think we'll try it. And then maybe it becomes part of our life. And I don't know what that little stick of stuff represents. But I do know that you know what it means